Good morning and a happy Sunday to you. Welcome to Atlantic Sunday. This is a syndicated live program of the network featuring chit-chatting and conversation on special interest topics, news, events, and stories through correspondence reports, expert opinion, and stakeholders analysis. And headlines for today. The first is from Abia State. Poor electricity supply, major challenge in Southeast. This is from Alex Oti. Ekiti State, Oyebanji pledges to transform sports into job creation. In Lagos State, these calls demand justice for assaulted IKEDC CEO workers. Presidency, Tinubu rejects 942 billion naira census budget, proposes corpus services. And judiciary, court orders forfeiture of $1.4 million linked to an Emefiele. Drug trafficking, 4 drug lords jailed 95 years. Women's Day, IPAC urges increased participation in politics, governance. And finally, in corruption, I escaped suspension for revealing senators' allowance in 2018. This is from Sani Sheo. Well, do not forget, we are still open for adverts, placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our Atn socials on Facebook and YouTube, on Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok, on Atlantic TV Network 1, on Twitter, on Atlantic TV Network. You can watch us live on our website at www.atlantic.net.org.tv. We will go on a quick break. When we return, we will discuss the stories and details and introduce our guests with us here at the studio. To stay with us.
Board, management and staff of Morrison Media Group presents the 2025 anniversary lecture of Atlantic Television Network and Wish 99.5 FM. Theme: Imperative of Private Media in Sustainable Development.
Keynote speaker, Professor Tony Iradia, erudite scholar and broadcast guru. Chairman, Professor Umar Kat, President, Society of Broadcasters, Nigeria, and Vice Chancellor, Federal University of Kashiri, Gombe State. Panelists, Chief Honorable Arthur C. Information and Communication Expert, Dr. Haka Tuwait, Lecturer, Public Relations, Media and Communication. Dr. Bekwele Lawrence DK, Lecturer, Marketing Communication and Public Relations, Opaka Dakuba, Chairman, South Nigerian Union of Journalists. Susan Serakara Nwikana, Chairperson, Nawach, River State. Chief Host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, FSM, FINC, FNIMN, MNIM, ARPA, MIPPA. Chairman, Morrison Group. Date, 10th of March 2025. Venue, Dimeji Banquet Hall, Gate Place Hotel, Kilometer 5 East West Road by Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time is 11 a.m.
Call Kehinde Paul Obofadi on 0802 301 5728. That is 0802 301 5728 or info@atlanticnetwork.tv or info@wishfm995ph.com. You can also call Laurentia Ogu on 0818 344 6746 That is 0818-344-6746 or lead content at atlanticnetwork.tv. This is signed by management.
Welcome back. Joining us today to discuss the stories on Atlantic Sunday is Son Mufasa. He's a public affairs analyst and a social commentator. Thank you so much for being here with us, Mufasa.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me, and happy Sunday to you.
Happy Sunday to you too. And the second with us here is Chimene Wali. Thank you so much for being here. He is a public speaker. Thank you so much for joining us today. Well, it's Chimene Wali Sunday. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, Wali Chimene Sunday.
Anyone
I can
is
say
fine.
anyhow. Thank you so much for being here too. Right into the story for today. Abia State Governor Alex Oti has urged the board and management of the Southeast Development Commission, SEDC, to prioritize power issues, stating that electricity is crucial to the economic development of the region. Oti made this remark on Thursday while receiving a delegation from the SEDC. He emphasized that investment in power should be a key focus for the government, as no industrialization or manufacturing sector can thrive without adequate electricity supply. The governor revealed that discussions are ongoing with Interstate Electric Limited for the Abia State government to acquire their equity in the Enugu Electricity Distribution Company. This, he explained, would enable the government to extend electricity to parts of the state not currently covered by geometric power. Earlier, the chairman of the commission, Emeka Wogu, and the managing director, Mark Okoye, acknowledged the commitment of Governor Oti's administration to the development of Abia State. The pledge SEDC supports for his efforts, as well as the Commission's dedication to the reconstruction and reintegration of the Southeast into national development initiatives. Well, before I get your thoughts on this, I would like to say that, if I may say, for a few days now, the power supply in the South is, especially in River State, have actually not been a favorable one. But I'd love to get your thoughts on this quickly. This coming from Alex Oti. Mufasa, please.
Okay, well, thank you very much. For me, I believe that there's no gainsaying, how important it is for the government to improve, in power generation, if we so desire to advance the fortune of the country, through industrialization. Okay, I'm aware that Alex Oti, as a governor, one of the first things he did on his inception of office is to come up with something close to a viable solution to the issue of, power challenges that they are having in Abia State. And when he made that move, a lot of Nigerians, both those living within and outside Abia State, actually lauded that particular move.
Yeah.
Power is very, very integral in advancing the fortune of any nation. I'll say that again and again. Abia State, for instance, talking about Aba, is what could be termed as the commercial headquarters of this country, because they are more into production. And if you go to Aba today, most of the things they do requires power. In terms of textile, other forms of construction, in terms of a whole lot of things that they do there. So for me, calling on the Southeast Development Commission, which for me is it's just in its baby stage, it's in its infant stage, to prioritize power is a right call and a step in the right direction.
Okay.
There was one time I said something in a particular fora that was opportune to speak, that if we are able to sustain a constant power supply, we have moved from one level to another level.
True.
There is nothing that you want to do today in this country, any kind of business, that power will not be the topmost priority on your to-do list.
Yeah.
Even if you want to be selling cement. Yes, even if you want to be selling cement that you don't even need, but you still need electricity. We're talking about 21st century idea. So for me, we've been saying this thing. We just hope that some of these things are taken seriously. When people talk like this, and the people you are addressing, they seem as though they are listening to you. Another thing is, would they take it serious and begin to come up with plans and strategy to see how this can be achieved?
Okay.
We have so much that we can harness. We have the sun. We're talking about renewable energy and all that. We're talking about solar energy. We have what it takes to make these things happen. But I don't really see that willingness, that can be put into this kind of idea that will make it possible. There'll certainly be a way. So he has actually made a very, very instructive and very viable projection. It is not left for those who are who consider themselves as the stakeholders, players in that sector, to consider what he has said and see how to come up with viable framework, how we can be able to. Abia State can start from there. They can start from there. Then we move on to other states in the southeast. Then maybe the larger, the geographical space called Nigeria. Then we'll say that we're actually moving forward and it is in the right direction.
Thank you on that, Mufasa. Well, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Jimmy, please.
Personally, for me, I feel in this dispensation that we are now, our country is not supposed to be crying for electricity. We should have gone past that level. But the people in power doesn't want to see the reason why we are clamoring for light every day or for electricity. Because for our economy to grow, or for the citizens to be able to strive or grow, we need electricity to help in industrialization. Most people now, even if they want to go into industrialization, you need electricity to power your business. So you see, most of them, they will start calculating, fuel, this, that. They will end up changing their mind, because part of the funding is to ensure that your business is running at all time. And electricity is one thing that makes the business run better or faster. You understand? So if the country is not helping us for this particular aspect, I don't know what the government want to do for us anymore. Because this thing Alex Otis is talking about is really, really important for our citizens. Coming from his own side, Aba, that area, more of industrial activities happening there. And they don't even have enough electricity to carry out this activity. But though I heard that he's trying now, some part of Abia State is having electricity. I heard something like that, but I'm not too sure. But I heard there are some parts of Abia State now having electricity, which is a good one. So imagine other states copy from that every part of Nigeria is having electricity. You will see business will be going well, the economy will be growing. people will be doing it, because when you start calculating how much you buy fuel, buy gen, buy this, buy that, even when you start migrating other platforms, it's even expensive to get those ones and even maintain them.
Okay.
So it's really important the government look into this issue.
Well, why do you think the government has not come to that realization of making it work? Though the Minister of Power, Delavu, has come to say that the government has bought new megawatts to increase power supply, and then that the grid will not collapse. But we actually had yesterday that some parts of the country is affected due to blackouts, because some states, as we speak, unless it has been restored just at this moment, have been out of power supply, since Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken. Up till now, there has not been a good power supply. Why do you think the government have not come to that point of getting this done once and for all?
For me, I personally feel that they personally have a reason why they don't want to look into the issue. Maybe they benefit from one aspect from it, because you cannot tell me that a country like big as Nigeria, that it's number one in Africa, will still be complaining about electricity at this moment, when even our upcoming countries are even having constant power supplies.
Upcoming, you mean
like
Ghana?
Ghana, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. So some countries, even some little countries, have electricity. Then imagine Nigeria, as big as number one in Africa, is still crying for. That means there is something these people are doing that they don't want to tell us. It's either they are benefiting from those generators they sell or something. Because at this point, it's time that we as a citizens start talking, because if we don't talk, I don't think they're ready to do anything about it.
Most times when we hear there's this total blackout in the country and the grid collapses again, oftentimes we see that the presidential villa is affected in that instance, and a day or two goes by, then it get restored. That means they are also affected by this whole thing. Mufasa, let me get your thoughts on this quickly. I'll hold you on that Sunday. Thank you so much on this. Why is this still lingering up till now, please?
Well, it's because they, like you rightly said, maybe they're benefiting from it, one. And secondly, they've not really demonstrated that strong will to take the people out from darkness. There are places you go to today in this country that will tell you they've not seen power for years. There are places you go to in this country they've not seen power ever since. There are kids, there are people who have grown up to the age of 15, 16, 17. They've not seen power ever in that community. And these are people who travel out of this country to Europe and America. They see that primarily what a country needs to advance, in all ramification, it's a constant source of power, So it's something that it's either intentional, perhaps based on what they are benefiting from it, or they just want to deliberately, subject the people to hardship, and for them not to be able to run a business. Like he has rightly said, there's no way you want to calculate the running costs of the business, and place it side by side with what you get as profits and all of those things.
Wow,
the first thing you consider when setting up a business is the power to run your business. Alternative source, which is generator, the cost of diesel and petrol has skyrocketed. So these are the issues, So for me, let's the government sit down and have this deep introspection. They don't need to wait for Governor Alex Oti to tell them that you cannot run away from constant source of power if you want to truly industrialize the country.
And it's a good thing coming from Alex Oti, because he's actually leading by example, for what he actually wants to be done.
In some case, like I said, he came up with an idea, but I'm not too sure that that move has gathered enough momentum.
Okay.
Because I still know that there are people in Aba today who are still complaining of lack of power. You go to Aba, there are places you go to where what they do predominantly is to build clothes.
Yes.
Fantastic clothes that even export outside this country.
Mm.
But you go to that place, the sound of generator alone could, deafen your ear. Yes. But it's what they need to run their business. So you could imagine if government could provide a constant source of power, which for me is not rocket science. These things, it's not as if you need to go to the moon and come back before you can achieve that. What we need is a government that has a strong will to bring that change. But obviously, we're not seeing that.
Yes.
What we see is a complete waiting for everything to happen by chance or by luck, or we pray for God to change the country. Whereas these are things that once we have that strong will to effect that change, we can do it. What stops the government from saying that, okay, we have so much in terms of generation? In fact, they say we generate more than what we can use. We are supplying some other neighboring country power. And if you go to those countries like Niger, for instance, they hardly complain of what we are complaining of today. That's why I say that it's intentional and deliberate on the part of government to allow us to remain in this misery. And people keep complaining. Now that a sitting governor has identified that there has to be a need for us to move away from the old order and start coming up with innovations that would be of more benefit to the people. Because if the people are having this constant source of power, you do not need to wait for government job. You can just come up with something like tech, for instance. You cannot. The tech is what is driving the global economy today, and you cannot rule away an advancement in tech or going to tech business without having access to power.
Sure.
So these are the issues. So the government should sit down, put on their thinking cap, and realize that some of these issues that is plaguing the society today, that we keep running around back and forth, to solve it is it's quite simple. Give me power today. I'll come up with an idea that I can sit in my house and be, making something for myself without going on the street and begin to, think of other social vices that will need to sustain myself. We're talking about a society where crime and criminality is rife. And a simple solution to that is to engage the people in, meaningful venture that they don't need to be moving around. So for me, the Southeast Development Commission, has more than what it takes to ensure that they provide power. They don't need to rely on the discos and the gencos and whatever name they call themselves.
Thank you so much. And
they can improve on solar power energy and come up with something that you can power the whole of the Southeast with solar. What do you just need? Get professionals that can build the solar panels and whatever that is needed, and before you know, voila, everything everywhere is powered up.
Thank you,
Every other part of the country can follow suit. It's as simple as ABC.
Thank you so much on this. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you on your thoughts on this. Well, we have to move forward. Another state's governor has come up. Ekiti State Governor Biodun Oyebanji has pledged to transform sports into a tool for job creation and wealth generation as renovation work commences at Oluyemi Kayode Stadium at Ekiti. Governor Oyebanji reiterated his administration's decision to sports development, stating that it will no longer be viewed solely as a recreational activity, but as a strategic avenue for empowering athletes and fostering economic growth. During an inspection of the ongoing renovation of Oluyemi Kayode Stadium in Ado-Ekiti on Friday, Oyebanji expressed concern over the poor training conditions faced by athletes. He assured them that the situation would soon change as his government is determined to upgrade the stadium to international standards. The governor also revealed that his administration had awarded contracts worth over 7 billion naira for the state of the Arts Indoor Sports Hall, which is expected to be completed before the end of his tenure. The technical advisor on sports development, Dr. Mrs. Olushola Osetoba, commended the governor's vision and proactive efforts, highlighting the economic and employment benefits of prioritizing sports in the state. I want to start with you, Wale, please, on this. I want to start with you on this thoughts of because this issue of sports recreational activity is not something we hear all the time. It's not something that most states governors always want to come up and do. Sports that I'm sure most men actually love. You know, that sports it's sports as a game. You know, but not all states governors decide to, you know, put this as a first concern. Let me get from you, Mufasa. Do you think this is actually one step ahead in Ekiti State that the Yebanji has decided to get into, please?
No, well, leadership comes with responsibility. Fantastic idea. You know, I've always said that, you know, these people, they know what is good. You know, the problem is actually, you know, implementing some of these things, you know. Building of these facilities is actually not it's not a problem. You know, when you build, what we should also consider is maintenance. We have a lot of state-of-the-art sports facilities in this country, but what we see is after they are built, you know, they just allow it to waste. You know, we don't have that maintenance culture. And the idea of not just making it like a routine sport arrangement, also seeing a situation where it can also be used as a means of job creation, is still a good one, you know. But how well prepared is the government? Because we're also looking at the welfare of these sportsmen.
Okay.
You know, in recent times, we've heard of situations where some of these sports people, they complain of neglect, and I'm sure they've not been able to solve those problems.
True.
You know, so let us see how we can resolve some of the issues that we have on the ground.
But he actually mentioned that as one of the issue that he would tackle. You know, whilst they are also, you know, in the sports of transforming the sports center and, you know, all of those things that he has mentioned.
Well, like I heard what he said. You know, it's not enough to talk. we talk too much in this country. I said it before and I'll say it again. We should move away from that, you know, rhetorics of talking too much. Let's get to real actions. When you say you will do, and some promises that have been made before have not been fulfilled. I can bet you on this that if you go to Ekiti State and interface with some of these athletes, they'll tell you how they've been, you know, abandoned, neglected for a very long time. And if you are saying that you will do, what have you done already to improve the welfare of some of these athletes? These are people who go out of the state to represent the state. Some of them cannot even fend for themselves. Okay? So let us try to be more sincere in some of these our policies.
Okay.
You know? Most times I see it as something that lacks sincerity of purpose and intention.
Thank you.
You don't say these things. How committed, dedicated, and compassionate are you with what you are saying?
Okay.
Is it just a ceremony where you invite people, you flag off, commission, and after that another issue take over that, and you know? So let us show more sincerity of purpose and intention. Some of these ideas are fantastic, are brilliant, but would this be followed to its logical conclusion? These are the questions that Nigerians will continue to ask.
Thank you on that, Mufasa. I would love to ask you, Chimenim, do you agree with him or you're against him on his thoughts, please?
100% I agree with him, because one thing is not about talking. It's not about always saying you want to. They will, even if they release those money, I wish I would the right source or the right places, because this is not like it's not a joke thing. It's not something that it's something that if they really invest their time into it, it could really help the youths who have talent in football and who loves to play football.
Okay.
So I believe that if the governor sees this as an important role that he could be able to use to create jobs for the youths, it's very good. But in as much as he so loves football, he should also do that also in industrialization. Invest some of the money into industrialization to keep some of the boys busy, because most of them, it's not even about this. It's about what if they don't get the international recognitions. It's as if the money just wasted. So I encourage it on this. I encourage it, but let the governor also invest some of those money in industrialization, create factories where these people could go. Youths are ready to work. If you give them a platform, they will work.
Okay, I get the part where you talked about industrialization. We're talking about talent here, like sports. Yeah. There are people that it's more like a life thing for them, that they feel this is where they will function better and properly and striving. You know, in that instance, do you think they want to venture into those other aspects you mentioned?
That's my point.
Okay.
Now, the point here is that nobody is against your talent. But I'm not actually having a negative vibe towards this. But my only point is, it's really a welcome idea. But what if the level of the international standard is not what the state provides for these people?
Okay.
So you end up that the money they invested is just a waste. Because the main thing here is for us to get international recognition.
Okay.
Where people can come from different countries to see how they could create tournaments in their states.
Okay.
You understand?
Yes.
So if this doesn't get the international recognition, it's just that you're wasting the money. So if the governor is ready to keep to that standard of international, where he's ready to spend more to ensure the stadium is standard, ensure that the stadium gives everything that it's supposed to give, so that international investors can come in, it's a welcome idea.
Okay.
But if the governor is not ready for such adventure, I would advise he invest that money into industrialization.
Thank you so much, and that's all, gentlemen. Well, into another state. This is a continuation for what actually happened in Lagos State on Friday. The Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors has called on the Nigerian Air Force, the military, and the presidency to identify and hold accountable the officers responsible for a brutal attack on Ikeja Electric staff, CEO, and journalists at the company's headquarters in Alausa, Lagos. The attack, carried out by armed personnel from the Sam Etan Air Force Base, Ikeja, left multiple individuals injured. Following the assault, the area officer commanding Logistics Command, Air Vice Marshal A.K. Ademulegun, visited the IKEDC office later on Thursday, promising an investigation. However, Sunday Odutan, Executive Director of Research and Advocacy at ANED, dismissed Ademulegun's stance, insisting he could not feign ignorance at the incident. Odutan, who also serves as the spokesperson for all electricity distribution companies, stressed that the Air Force Base owes 4.3 billion naira in electricity debt with no visible efforts to settle it. It will be recalled that the officers, who were reportedly enraged by the disconnection, stormed the premises, demanding immediate reconnection despite outstanding bills and allegations of electricity theft. Eyewitnesses say the situation escalated quickly as the personnel went on a rampage, breaking down doors and searching for Ikeja Electric CEO, Mrs. Folake Sultan. When they found her, the officers allegedly assaulted Sultan and forced her into the trunk of a vehicle within the premises. He further demanded that all confiscated data, including CCTV recordings, be restored, accusing the military of deliberately taking away evidence to conceal their actions. Well, we had this conversation on Friday, and this is actually what happened. Like it's been stated here in the story. The Nigerian Air Force personnel, where they got into the Ikeja distribution company, and in order to get their power connection reconnected back. In that instance, the issue, there was a video on X where there was no conversation. They literally started chasing the staffs and some journalists that came to the scene to actually know what was going on. And the eyewitnesses said that the officers picked the CEO and dumped her in their trunk in order to probably whatever reasons they may actually have. Well, we almost see this brutality every day in Nigeria, and it's nobody is exempted if we may look at that. I'd love to get your thoughts on this quickly in this instance. Please, Mufasa.
I want to condemn the act. I think it's unwarranted for the personnel of the Nigerian Air Force to go into that premises and begin to treat innocent civilians in such a manner. It's brutish, it's unfortunate, and it's something that I expect the military hierarchy to look into and ensure that the officers involved are sufficiently brought to book. But on the flip side of things, I just say that when you disconnect an Air Force base, I think is a threat to national security.
Over a particular bill, 4.3 billion.
It's quite unfortunate that we are where we are today.
Because I'm sure that was an accumulated debt.
I agree. I agree. First of all, condemn the act.
Okay.
Regardless of what is what, I think there are civilized way that some of these issues can be settled. But for me, we're having this kind of discussion today because of how the nation has been wired over the time. I see no reason why the Nigerian Air Force Base or any military formation for that matter cannot come up with a viable way of providing power for itself. We are talking about an Air Force base, and currently we are faced with barrage of insecurity here and there. I don't know how a base or a military barrack can function without electricity. I really don't know how that can happen. But I just say today that there are barracks you go to and you see some portion of the barracks being run with generator. Some parts don't even have lights. So how do we combat insecurity in the first instance? So for me, I think it is wrong for you to use somebody's service or facility and you know that you are meant to pay for it, cost running over billions, and instead of you going to negotiate, instead of the military high command, because for that bill to rise to that rate, I'm sure there must have a series of notices given to whoever that may be in charge that your bill is running to the tune of billions. I'm sure it got to millions and not got to billions. billions of naira. Does it mean that money has not been earmarked for electricity in that barracks? And why has it not even come to their minds? Why has it not come to their minds that they should equally come up with alternative source of power? The military can generate power for itself. This is 21st century.
Okay.
I've said it, but I'll say it again, that fighting insecurity and insurgency is no longer analog. Let us move away from our analog system of doing this and go into digital. And until we'll employ something like that, come up with fantastic digital initiative, we keep running around in circles, and it becomes a case of motion without movement.
Thank
and by
you.
so doing, we won't be able to achieve anything.
I'll come back to you on this. I'd love to get your thoughts, but before I do, I want to make an illustration of an instance. Growing up, we used to see most of these electricity distribution companies come disconnect our power on our streets, and oftentimes there are altercations and exchange of blows. Yes, going on. You get
but that is
happening. Yeah, it still happens. It still happens.
Good, but it is something that is unbecoming. You don't expect that from the Nigerian armed forces.
True.
If people do that in the streets, we've seen that before. Correct. It doesn't mean it's right. It doesn't make it right. It's barbaric, it's uncivilized. So if people do that in the streets of Nigeria, we're not saying that, you know, the providers of the power, which we're not going to excuse them of some of the anomalies that they are known for. That people pay for what they don't consume.
Okay.
Yes,
Exactly.
people pay, but
that's what I'm trying to get to.
so it is not enough for the Nigerian armed forces, members of the Nigerian armed forces, the Air Force personnel, to go into the premises of a private business and to beat up staffs and management of that, because they are claiming that you are owing them.
Okay.
And for them to effect consequences, we are going to terminate, cut you off. For me, that alone should have gotten to that level.
I'll come back to you. I'm sure you have a lot to say on this. Well, that instance, I was trying to make that illustration that happens. We've often seen it. And we just discussed about the Abia State from Alex Oti about electricity that we do not see. Even there was this story that the federal government is making plans to change meter for some Nigerians, and the Nigerians have come to speak against it on X. What's the need of changing meter? We're not seeing power supply. You know, in that instance, we're not seeing lights, and what's the need for it? Oftentimes we say that we do not see the power supply we pay for, and then it's more like a contradiction going on. One hand, he has faulted the Nigerian Air Force for, you know, brutalizing the CEO and the staffs of the Ikeja electricity distribution company. I want to get your thoughts on that two parts. You know, where you feel this stand, you have a stand on this. You know, we can fault the both parties on this instance.
For me, the both parties are at fault, personally, because at this point we don't even know if what the military is paying for, they actually get it. But from this instance, I perceive they have constant power supply.
Why do you perceive that?
I don't know, maybe because for them to come and react like that, maybe they get the light often, and imagine they are not seeing it like for days. Okay. So it's affecting them. So I believe maybe they get the light, and that's why their bills went that high. Now, for me, I condemn what the military did. They did something very wrong. They would have gone to the appropriate bodies to handle issues like that. Okay,
if I cut you short there, does it mean, since the military decided to take the law into their hands, oftentimes when we've seen instances of police brutality, is it that anyone in power can do whatever you want to do because you're wearing the uniform? Because I'm sure they would have gone to do that display in their uniform.
Obviously, they will do that in their
uniform. Order to
get them scared too.
You know,
yes.
Imagine putting the CEO in the trunk of a car.
No, that's not nice. That's not nice, because these people are doing their business. You can't be owing someone that much amount of money and you don't expect them to react. For them not even disturbing them for that long, for the money to even drive down to billions, it shows that they have actually given them warnings.
Okay.
I believe they've been giving them warnings for this. And for them not to also answer them, that means they actually want problem. It perceives that they want problem. And the IK have to take laws into the hands by at least carrying out, because I told you earlier that for the economy to grow, you still need the electricity, and they know that this is a problem to them, and if they take this out for them, they will be serious. Because if you don't take action, nothing will happen.
Okay.
The action was what triggered this matter to come up. Imagine that action wasn't taken. They would have been owing them till it gets to trillions. And at that point, they will not be able to pay. That's why brother has likely said, government are paying them for this. Why are they not paying the company for this service? Why are they not paying them? Who is eating the money? It's a question we should also ask. So the fault directly now is from the military. Why is the military not paying for the electricity? Because I believe the government has budget for this. Because I know the commander gives budget for all this. Why are they not paying for the electricity up to the extent they go to billions? It's something we need to question.
Okay, thank you on that.
Yes.
Mufasa, you made a statement. I love to see the ginger. You made a statement about the Nigerian Air Force, they're generating their own power supply. How do you think that would be possible, considering the fact that as a nation, we're still trying to struggle to, maintain the one we have already?
Why do we have to struggle? Do we have to struggle for everything? Power, currently as we speak, has been simplified to the extent that any mechanical engineer can come up with a viable idea to generate electricity. There are experts in that field, and the military is an institution. You have engineers, you have doctors, you have people from all facets of human endeavor. Okay? It's just for them to go into research. Look at solar, for instance. They can come up with some of these, fantastic idea that can generate electricity for the entire barracks. Yes, they can do it. I've always said that if you put your mind to anything with determination, you can achieve whatever you put your mind to.
Okay.
The military has what it takes. The Nigerian Air Force, they have one of the best pilots. Most of these airliners and the rest, some of their pilots are gotten from, the Nigerian Air Force. They have the best technicians. So it's something that when they come up with a team and say, this is what we want you to do. Come up with an idea that can enable us generate our own source of power. They can do that. Because when you rely so much on private, investors, on private source, and of course, you should also know that your reliance on that is going to cost you something. Which means whatever the cost is, you must meet up with that cost. It doesn't matter how hard or difficult it is for you to meet up with that cost. If I go into a business with you, I have an agreement that so and so time, this is what it will cost me. If I go against that agreement, there has to be consequences. And part of the consequences could either be termination of services. And if I terminate my services, it's going to cost you. So it's not for you to now take laws into your hands just because you have the power of coercion. And this is outright oppression. And I'm looking at it from the angle of national security.
Okay, let me make a statement. Considering the fact that oftentimes we see situations where, like I mentioned, the police brutality incident, that most of the civilians are assaulted and this false personnel do this and go scot-free. Do you think these people will be held accountable? If you notice from at the last state of the story, they actually erased the CCTV footage that they had in order not to, have conceal yes, evidence against it. How do you think the schools can get the justice they have demanded for?
The thing is, even the people that went for that unfortunate conduct, up to this moment, they've not been able to identify them. We've had antecedents in this country where military personnel, go out of their way, to oppress, victimize innocent civilians. And unfortunately, these persons have not been able to get justice, So I won't be surprised. I won't be surprised if it's equally go the way of that narrative, I think it's a tradition that whenever a military personnel is involved in such unprofessional conduct, they tend to protect their own.
Okay.
It is not today. Even the famous Fela unknown soldier incident where the mother was killed, and what we hear is unknown soldier. So it's still very, very fresh in our mind. So for me, in as much as we are hoping to see a change in the way of doing things, and that's what we've been clamoring for. They want to see a paradigm shift from the old order, where we begin to see discipline in the rank and file of not just the military, including the police.
Okay.
You don't just go out of your way and begin to oppress people and harass people with the uniform and guns that was bought for you with taxpayers' money. So for me, the military hierarchy should ensure that the officers who are involved in this are properly disciplined. I understand that anger could lead to some of this, but that is why you're a military personnel. You are no longer thinking like a civilian. And one of the major things that is instilled in the military man is discipline.
Discipline, yes.
You don't go out of the barracks unless you are asked to do so. That is why you see the man is saying that the high command should feign ignorance. It is usually difficult for you to just go out of the barracks with vans and without somebody giving you an order to do so.
Okay.
In as much as they could want to say, why would you come and disconnect a whole barracks? Of course, that could also be considered, but you are owing them. You are owing us.
Okay, thank you.
We are not, our service is not for free. And that is why initially you are aware that this is the amount you should pay for it. And you allow it to rise to that
because
level.
There's a chain of distribution from this electricity distribution company. They actually buy and then
there's what they call operating costs. They use diesel and all of these things to run their business.
Okay.
So it's not for free. It's not a charity organization. That is why I said, if you are not ready and willing to pay, come up with a viable way of providing power for yourself. And it's not rocket science. People are building gas turbines for themselves.
Thank you on that.
So why can't the military do that?
Thank you on that, Mufasa. Do you have more to say on this?
My colleague has said everything. He has said almost everything, which I buy the idea. If they really want to have their own, they should think of different ways to get it. Okay. Different ways to get it.
All right. Thank you so much on this, gentlemen. Well, moving forward, President Bola Tinubu has turned down a 942 billion naira proposed by the National Population Commission for the conduct of the National Housing and Population Census. In pictorial sources privy to the discussion between Tinubu and the Commission's top officials on Monday, February 24, 2025, at the State House, revealed that the President insisted on the cost-cutting measures. According to the insiders, the President suggested the deployment of members of the National Youth Service Corps for the exercise. After being briefed by officials of the NPC led by its chairman, Nasir Kwara, Tinubu promised to set up a committee to align the census budget to the government's present financial realities. The government official said the main issue from that meeting was that the money they were proposing was quite much. It is around 942 billion naira, that is almost 1 trillion naira. And the president felt that it was too much. That is why he said there would be a committee to look at the issues altogether because that cost must come down. It also will also be recalled that Senate Committee on National Identity and Population on January 20 has called January 20, 2025 has called on President Bola Tinubu to consider conducting a national census this year for accurate planning. The committee made the call on Tuesday when the chairman of the National Population Commission, Nasi Kwara, appeared before it to defend the commission's allocation in the 2025 budget. During the budget's defense session, the committee members expressed concerns over Nigerians' dependence on estimated population data. They advised that the country must not lag when other countries already use advanced technology to conduct a census. I remember while I was little, they come down our streets and then they have this mark on the wall, you know, to count the census. I don't know if any of us had the experience. Well, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, considering the fact that the budget for this year's census was about 942 billion naira to conduct a census in the country. What is your thoughts on this, please?
Depends. I really can't tell because I've not seen the budget. So I believe that for the commission in charge of that feels that that amount of money is okay for them to. But if they can also use some past this thing to also work with, they should check the budget of previous ones to know if this is very huge or outrageous for them, because the country is actually struggling at the moment. Prices like this, it's not welcomed because there is high rate of inflation and every sector has to manage at this point because the country is struggling. So every sector has to manage. That is what I feel the president is fighting, because at this point we have to be cutting costs. There are a lot of things the country is lacking behind, and imagine investing billions of naira in some certain sectors. It's not welcome when there are other avenues you could be able to do it.
Okay.
So at this point, I support the president that they should see how they could cut costs because the country needs funds for other activities.
Cutting costs in the sense of making use of its corpus to do the manual census that I said I experienced, because that's what we've always seen. Like Mufasa always say, it's high time we go past analog stage and evolve with technology, recent technology that is going on. Isn't it high time for the federal government to actually decide and say, let's do betterments, let's use better means of conducting the census instead of use corpus to do that?
Now, for why I feel, because bringing into what you're talking about is more of bringing technology into this system. Now, most times some people can always be able to fault this technology, whereby they could probably interfere with it or try to overcount, or the system might actually give some errors. You understand? Because this data is what the world needs to know the number of people who are existing in this country.
Okay.
So people using the NYC, the youth corpers, people from the youth corpers to do this, it's for me, I think it's necessary. So we could actually have the necessary, like the original numbers.
Okay, so you feel if they do this, if they do this way manually with the youth capacity, we're going to get
I feel manually is better because the technology, they could do that, whatever ways they could fault it, or maybe the system, because just like when they did their election, they were saying Beaver is doing this, doing that, before you know, there are so many dramas with the election. So I feel to avoid dramas or to avoid problems in the future, I believe the youth corpus should be employed into this.
Okay, thank you on that, Chimeni. I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Mufasa, please. What do you have to say concerning this?
No, it all depends on priority of government. It's not enough to call for a reduction in what was budgeted for. Okay, have we looked at the items that some of these monies was tied to? In budgetary provision, the items are usually listed and amounts are tied to those items. And what is our priority in our scale of preference as a government? The last stint that we had to having something like a census was, I think, in 2023, when there was a proposal, and the census was supposed to hold by then, and they brought the excuse of we're having an election and all of that. And before then, certain amount of money running over, I think about 200 billions or so, not about, I can't really place the amount, was already being released, you know, and up to this moment,
nothing was done.
Nobody has been called to account for that money.
Okay.
You know, even assuming, you know, the suggestion by the president that corpers should be used or core members should be used, and these core members they are going to be paid. You provide logistics for them. You provide equipment for them. You provide all that is required of them, you know, to give you a seamless exercise.
Okay.
And for the best of my knowledge, census are usually conducted with ad hoc staffs. They even engage civil servants. You know, it's not something you don't get just like the election. You use ad hoc staffs to conduct the exercise. And I'm not sure that the entire process, you know, can be done with the amount, the number of core members that we have. It will not be sufficient enough.
Okay,
So
you talked about paying most of the youth corpus in order to conduct this successfully. Considering the fact that they are still agitating for the 77,000 naira increase that they're yet to get, that the federal government has promised to increase from 33 to 77, that has not been paid yet. What's that guarantee that if they are involved into this, they will actually be paid for their services for this census?
I'm not here to guarantee for government.
So
we already have a filling system. We are talking about, is it possible to cut the cost? You know, already what is facing us currently as a people is disappointing enough. Okay, the corpers welfare is another kettle of fish. But if you are engaging them for a census exercise, you must make provisions for their welfare.
For me, I think personally, you know, as they are serving corpers, they are serving the nation, and these are their primary assignments to help the government in some activities like this.
Yeah. Okay.
You understand? So, I don't think an extra, even if you have to do any extra bill for them, it just has to be security, ensuring they are well secured, and maybe probably some little stipends for feeding and other welfare.
It's not the stipend we are talking about.
If talking about, you know, it's looking as if we were like paying them an extra.
Sorry to cut you.
Okay.
Just like we engage them for election exercise, you know, they engage corpers for election.
Yes, they engage them for election activities.
It's not like a one straight month something.
No, it's just
you are required to be on the field.
Yes.
And you are posted to areas to do the job. They will be trained.
They'll be trained. Yes, they'll be training for that. You know? Yes.
And even if you be giving them stipends, all those will equally be included. You're not paying them like you're paying them like you're paying salaries.
Well, I think that's also what the president is trying to do in order to cut the cost, because he said that 942 billion naira is too much for the census budget. Instead, that's why he proposed the use of youth corpus in order to reduce probably to the lowest minimum of probably 300 billion.
It is, now it's my concern is not even the billions and the trillions and what have you. Have you looked into how that money
will be spent?
Yes. He said that he has not seen the budget. You cannot quarrel something that you are not sure. We are talking about the current reality. Do you want a seamless process? We are talking about deploring modern technology. I saw in the write-up when somebody was suggesting that we are looking at
past that stage.
Yes, we're looking at introducing something that will give us a near perfect exercise.
Okay.
What we have been running with is estimated. Even when we conducted the last census, I think in 1993 or thereabouts, I can't replace the date, but it was still faulted.
even with the technology, it will still be faulted.
No, but with the technology,
it will still.
With the technology, it's going to reduce the amount of doubt in the exercise. Technology has made a lot of things simple for us. It has simplified most of the processes. When you move from one house to the other and go with pen and paper, how many children do you have? Where do you work? This and that and all of that. When you can easily just come up with a technological computer system, where do you work, and you go to your workplace and they have your BVN, they have your, I'm coming. I know you want to say something. They have your BVN, they have your ID card number and all of that. All these are part of the processes that you can digitalize the exercise.
Okay.
And you spend less of time. But these things still do cost money. That's why I'm saying that before you are faulting the figure in terms of what the proposal that they have submitted to the government, that this is what we need. Have we looked at what this amount has been tied to? Then maybe we can come up with a committee to evaluate. Most importantly, we want an exercise that even if we want to fault it will not go as high as what we've had before in the past. Let us see how we can set our priority right. Cutting costs. Is it only in sectors that will cut costs?
Okay.
Are we looking at cutting costs in how they live their luxurious and ostentatious life, where the president travel almost every weekend to Europe and America? Are we looking at the humongous amount of money that they budget to build houses for themselves and their associates? Have we looked at what they spend on allowances, but wardrobe allowance, security allowance, and all of that? Have we looked at cutting down the cost of the high rate of AIDS, retinue of AIDS that they have, that running over billions and trillions of naira?
Thank you.
For me, conclusively.
Okay.
For me, conclusively, as much as we are looking at a way where we will spend less in achieving the best, because we mustn't talk of spending less in achieving less. Let's spend less in achieving the best. Let us extract what has been put in the budget. If we are engaging core members, we should also know that core members alone cannot do the job. And we also know that we also make provision for their welfare, we are paying them stipends, we're also using other ad hoc staffs in this process. How do we make it, easy and also have a seamless process? That is what.
For me, I want
to
emphasize on the technology. Now, you employing technology into this system, have you ever considered those at the area? How would they get to work with this technology? Because most of them, they don't even have most of our ID cards. This NIM, BVN, voters, most of them don't even have it. Most of them just come, anybody call them, just say, come out and do election, be pressing. Most of them don't even have voters cards. Most of them even have some valid ID cards. You understand? How you will know? Most time when you go to the bank, you see most of them, they don't even have any ID card. They will be bringing things that are not even relevant. So, even bringing those technology into the system, people in the rural area are not advanced enough to use it. And for you to start educating them to use those technology, it will take time. And the government is spending more. So that is why, for me, since we are still in the process, because Nigeria have refused to grow, since we are still in the process, because I am judging from the last vote, the last election that happened, you know what happened by Beavers? So much problem, this one, that one, people were just giving wrong results. According to what they told us the last time, that we will be in our house, the two will be aired, that we will see who and as in who's winning and who is not winning, the way US does theirs. That was what we were expecting. But at the end room, what would you get?
We can improve on that if we set our priority right.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Don't you think it's high time for us to get it done?
We can achieve.
Because
do you think the country is ready for that? That's the question.
That's why I said setting our priority right. It's not rocket science. Some of these things you just mentioned, very, very valid. But have we been able to set our priority right as a people? They say when there is a will, there is a... These things you just mentioned, they are not rocket science. It's that willingness, that strong will to effect change, to bring change. We need to move out from the old order, and it's just a matter of taking the right step and taking that first step. It's not something that we need to, we don't even need to spend so much. It's just a strong will. So for me, if the government is willing and, have that passion and desire to effect this change, they should show that strong will. We can achieve it.
Thank you on this, gentlemen. Thank you so much on your analysis on this. Well, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we will continue with the rest of the stories. Do stay with us.
The board, management and staff of Morrison Media Group presents the 2025 anniversary lecture of Atlantic Television Network and Wish 99.5 FM. Theme, Imperative of Private Media in Sustainable Development.
Keynote speaker, Professor Tony Iberia, erudite scholar and broadcast guru. Chairman, Professor Umar Pat, President, Society of Broadcasters, Nigeria, and Vice Chancellor, Federal University of Kashmir, Gombe State. Panelists, Chief Honorable Arthur C. Kalabo, Information and Communication Expert. Dr. Harker Dwight, Lecturer, Public Relations, Media and Communication. Dr. Bekwele Lawrence DK, Lecturer, Marketing Communication and Public Relations, Opaka Dakuba, Chairman, South Nigerian Union of Journalists. Susan Serekara Nwikana, Chairperson, Nawach River State. Chief Host, Dr. Chinyere Igwe, Esquire, FSM, FINC, FNIMN, MNIM, ARPA, MIPPA. Chairman, Morrison Group. Date, 10th of March 2025. Venue, Dimeji Banquet Hall, Gay Place Hotel, Kilometer 5 East West Road by Obirikwere Flyover, Rumosi, Port Harcourt. Time is 11 a.m.
Call Kehinde Paul Obofadi on 0802 301 5728. That is 0802 301 5728 or info@atlanticnetwork.tv or info@wishfm995ph.com. You can also call Laurentia Ogu on 0818 344 6746. That is 0818 344 6746 or leave content at atlanticnetwork.tv. This is signed by management.
Welcome back. Former Kaduna Senator Shehu Sani has revealed that he narrowly escaped a 6-month suspension from the Senate in 2018 for disclosing the salaries and allowances of federal lawmakers. Sani, in a post on X on Thursday, said he would have faced the suspension if not for the intervention of then Senate President Bukola Saraki and his deputy Ike Ekweremadu. In March 2018, Sani disclosed that senators received 13.5 million naira monthly as running costs, in addition to 200 million naira allocated for constituency projects. His revelation was met with backlash from his colleagues, as lawmakers' salaries are typically kept confidential. Sani's remark came in the wake of the Senate's recent decision to suspend Kogi Central Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan for 6 months. The suspension, based on a report by the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges and Public Petitions, followed her February 20 altercation with Senate President Godswill Akpabio. I would love to start with you on this, Mufasa, considering the fact that we still actually do not know how much senators earn. Do you think it's in this instance there's still a lot of things that we do not know that goes on in the government sector as the country may have it?
Well, I feel, statements like this is one of those statements that make a lot of Nigerians begin to wonder if we are actually practicing a constitutional democracy. As a public servant, your salary and emoluments, what do you call it, allowances, they are meant to be in public domain. It's not supposed to be shredded in secrecy. So for the senator that I respect so much to come out and begin to say that he escaped suspension, leaves so much to be desired. I mean, why would you be saying a thing like that if what you said is actually the truth? So when you say you escape, the word escape for me, it's something that doesn't really sound, because if you've done the right thing, and you should be willing and ready to face whatever the consequences. So
in that instance, if coming out to make statements about how the allowances that senators earn almost made him get suspended, making this particular statement right here, wouldn't that actually affect him almost in the same instance?
No, he has nothing to lose. I mean, currently he's currently a serving senator. I'm sure that's why he's bold enough to say a thing like that.
Okay.
He's just like every private individual, unless of course he's part of the aristocrats, the bourgeoisie. Okay. If a senator cannot boldly speak out his mind at the floor of the House, it goes to show that our democracy is on it's nosediving. We've seen cases where senators are suspended, senators are threatened, senators are victimized
for speaking up,
even when they have every right to speak. But that's why you're there as a senator, as a member of the National Assembly. I think your primary responsibility is to speak out, because you are representing the people.
Yes.
So I really do not find it funny that as a senator, you will suffer the same level and amount of intimidation that the ordinary Nigerian, face every day in the streets, in the hands of the oppressors. So if a senator does not have that leeway, that authority, that freedom to speak, so what then is the hope of you and I as a common man in the street? So these are the issues that we are talking about. That the moment they get the opportunity to become presiding officers at the floor of the Senate, talking about the Senate president, talking about other ranking senators, officers of the Senate, that you will not be allowed to speak up, then I just say we are not practicing democracy. What we are practicing is autocracy, authoritarianism, dictatorship. You saw what just currently transpired in the Senate, where a senator, a female senator, came out to accuse the Senate president of sexual harassment. And instead of the Senate to take such an accusation seriously by setting up a high-powered committee to investigate that accusation, what they did was to suspend the senator. It's not the first time we've seen senators being suspended. We've seen the case of Abdulmumin Ningi, when he identified issues in the budget where he alleged and claimed that items that monies were earmarked for were not reflected in the budget.
Yes.
And we saw how that matter went. So I think Nigerians should speak more on what is happening to the nation as it concerns our democracy. If not, wake up one morning and we'll find out that our elected office holder, they've become so powerful and uncontrollable to the extent that even you in the street, you wake up one morning and somebody just gets you arrested for speaking what is right and just.
Thank you.
So Senator Shehu Sani, for me, I'm not really impressed, because it just shows that even as we saw him as a courageous, outspoken individual, because somebody who has been in civil society, during the time of the military junta, he was one of those who were in the forefront, with the likes of the current president Adeko and all of that. For you to have come out to say that you were almost suspended for saying what you ought to have said, for disclosing to Nigerians what you get as salary and allowances, it leaves so much to be desired in the minds of
Thank you so much, Professor. Well, I'd love to get your thoughts on this, Chimene. Why do you think most of these lawmakers, why do you think they have not agreed, or they do not want the public to actually know what they earn?
Okay, personally, I feel why they don't want to know what these people earn is probably, personally, I feel due to security. Because
well, we always say them with 60 vehicles, 60 SUVs on convoy. We see them with lots of that, living their lives as the case may. Every week there's a foreign trip on a particular, whatever the reason may be. We already see that happening. So I really don't know why the concealing of your allowances is necessary.
Why they said security? Because they are also scared. So some people will not know the amount of money Nigeria budget to them, because most times Nigerians always say there is no money, but yet these people are receiving huge amounts of money. So they are always scared of revealing such information, so Nigerians will not be like, and I say money no dey. See wetin some senators they receive.
Okay.
This is their fear. So Nigerians will not see reasons to start fighting them, because most of them have not done anything in their states. Most of them have not done anything, even in the senatorial districts. They have not done anything. And that is why they feel that, some Nigerians feel that they are only living by their salary, but there are actually amounts of money they budget for projects in your senatorial zones.
Okay.
So they are scared of revealing such, so that they will not be having issues with the citizens. Because if someone has given you money to do something in your senatorial zone, and you're saying that there is no money, meaning that you're a corrupt person.
Okay, so since we are all eager for change and we want something different, and but we're not seeing that transparency from these people, these lawmakers. So how do we get that change we all yearn for if we're not seeing it from the beginning? Like Mufasa mention of if senators are scared to speak up from this part, they are still scared to say the truth, as it may. How much more the commoner? Since we're all agitating for something new, how do we get to that point when everything almost seems like it is not what it seems?
We just have to keep speaking. That's the truth. Because they are in power and you can't fight those in power. Yes, they can always have their way around it. Just like what happened to Chata. What happened? She was speaking and nobody cared to listen. So she has to keep speaking. And now I can hear now there are people agitating on her behalf. We have to keep speaking for these people to hear. We voted them into that place. The more we speak, they will hear. and the federal government will do something towards it, because we are the people who brought them into the seats. So the only way this could work is we keep speaking, keep talking. I believe one day something will happen.
Well, Professor, I don't know if you have something to say about what Chimene has mentioned of speaking up. I had a discussion with you about Ocean State one time here at the studio when Deleke came up to cry out over Adeola, the former Ocean State governor, Adeboyega, yes, kept coming up to, forcefully, reinstate the lawmakers that were actually local LGAs that were actually removed. There was a situation of a speak up incident and nothing was done in that instance. If we go back to the Lagos State House of Assembly, the incident that happened, Obasa coming back, to take back his office, Natasha actually speak up in as much as, yes, she did speak up. If we may look at it the other way around, there was certain sign of disrespect that she actually that was actually done there. In as much as, yes, she wanted to speak up, but there were signs of disrespect in that instance. But let's go back to the speaking up aspect. For how long do we have to keep speaking up in order for these people to really hear our voice and do what is necessary and come up with that transparency, accountability, and everything that we need as a nation to function properly?
Respond to something that he mentioned, that it could be that security, consideration is why they don't want to disclose what it gets as salaries and allowances. I believe that as a public servant, whatever you get, the people deserve to know. Regardless of whatever your security concerns are, we pay for their security.
Obviously, yes.
We provide security for them. We buy them clothes, of wardrobe allowances. We pay their house rent. We give them houses, in the form of housing allowances. Nigerians pay virtually for everything. that that they possess, and at the end of the day, they treat us like trash. And if you would want to suspend your colleague for disclosing what you earn to Nigerians, for me, it's a complete far cry. Then talking about the willingness of people to speak out. You made mention of the case of Natasha and and all of those things. And like I've said before, that we've had cases where some persons came out to speak. There was one House of Reps member called Abdulmumin Jubril, as at the time when Yakubu Dogara was speaker, and he alleged that there was budget padding, that they padded the budget that was brought before the House of Representatives. In this country, the guy was treated in a way that was unbecoming of a lawmaker. He was oppressed, he was subjugated, he was suppressed, and he was suspended for saying the truth. I can go on and on and on to count cases where people come out to speak. Even currently, how senators have been cowed, intimidated, to the level where, as a senator, you cannot come out and speak. So for me, I want to say categorically that Nigerians, if as a senator, you have discovered that the senators that you send there to represent you have been cowed and intimidated, subdued, conquered, we can speak up on their behalf. So it doesn't matter how you'll be treated at the end of the day. The power of the people is greater than the people in power. And that is what democracy entails. Let us forget how we've been treated for long as a people, as though we have been captured. Somebody who I spoke with somebody, I said we are a conquered people by those we've given power to hold for us in trust. We've been elected you people to hold on to this for us. And you treat us like slaves. The people shouldn't get tired of speaking. Just recently there was a end bad governance and all of those things protests, and you saw how
it played out.
How it played out.
Yes.
So for me, I'm not giving an endorsement to
violence.
To violence, and we made mention of Natasha and how she spoke disrespectfully to the Senate President and all of that. I'm not giving an endorsement to that. What I'm saying here is, you don't just subdue people and shut them up just because you have a reason to do so. We are civilized people. We see how parliaments are run in Europe and America. You see how they engage in robust debate, and even the PM, the Prime Minister of the British Parliament. If you watch out, you see how they even engage. When the Prime Minister is speaking, people raise objections to what the views and position of the Prime Minister. And you don't see them getting suspension. And we claim we're operating a democracy. That is not how nations are run. Unless we just want to remain perpetually, nascent. Oh, we are trying to grow our democracy. This is a nascent democracy. Somebody told me that we are suffering from perpetual infantilism. You don't grow. You remain a baby forever. Just because of the gains that you get. Oh, as a baby, they pet you, they give you, everything that you want and all of that. There are kids like that. They don't want to grow because of the benefits that they get while they're being treated as a child. But if you continue like that, there will be no advancement. So for me, there has to be a robust and intentional reform in our parliamentary proceedings and how we run parliament in this country, both at the level of the National Assembly down to the level of the State Assembly. If it gets to constant training, one. Secondly, if we can even adopt part-time, you don't go there and occupy forever like a full-time job. You can run it part-time. If they are set for sitting, they invite people, come and sit, and we discuss the way forward for the country. People shouldn't have that sense of entitlement. Yes. Hold on to power as if it's something that is your birthright. It's just it.
Thank you.
And should not, deviate from the core objective.
Why you're there.
While you are there, it's meant to be used as an instrument for social engineering, for advancing the fortune of the people.
Yeah.
Not to go there and feed and get fat and become a demigod overnight because you are Senate President, because you are Speaker. Nobody has a right to talk to you. Your colleagues, they are equals. You are just first among equals. That is why as the Senate President, you can't be impeached. You can be asked to step aside. Why do you investigate you?
Thank you so much.
Let us don't begin to engage in rascality just because you have the opportunity to be where you are today as somebody that is handling power.
Thank you.
We need to
Thank you so much on this, Mufasa. Thank you so much on your soul. Thank you, Chimene, on this. Well, moving forward, Inter-Party and Advisory Council, IPAC, has called for greater participation of women in politics and increased inclusion in governance. The council also demanded actions that unlock equal rights and opportunities for women and commended the House of Representatives for the bill on seat reservations for women. IPAC said that as it's facilitated with women around the world on the occasions of this year's International Women's Day celebrations, with the theme for all women and girls' rights, equality, empowerment, the day is set aside to commemorate women's achievements in a better society and to highlight their challenges. The council statement, signed by Hajiya Zainab A. Ibrahim, 8th Executive Director of the Directorate of Women Affairs and Deputy National Secretary, said, Nigerian women are resilient and have contributed significantly to building a strong, united, progressive and democratic nation, yet they remain grossly underrepresented in politics and government. Since the Beijing Declaration in 1995, most governments have paid lip service to gender equality. It is crucial to accelerate action and take decisive steps towards achieving gender equality and empowering women and girls to contribute to building a prosperous and just nation. IPAC urged women to participate in politics, contest various elective positions, and justify the confidence citizens have reposed in them. Yesterday was actually Women's Day. Well, happy International Women's Day to every woman out there, and to me also. And maybe I should get that from the both of you to me. Thank you.
Happy
Women's Day.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Well, yesterday, Happy Women's Day.
Thank you. We still celebrate women every day.
Take us out after the show.
No problem. That's fine. Well, this coming from IPAC to increase participation of women in politics. Do you think this is the right step to take? I'd love to get your thoughts first on this, Chimene, please.
Yes, I think it's the right path for them to take. It's good we involve women because women they are smart in their way. They are very intellectual several ways. At least most of the ideas also help men too. So if they bring them into the system, it's really very important. Just like River State is already practicing it already. Most of their deputies, for the past, since the Wike government till now, has been having women as deputy, and they have been running the government very well. And I think it's a welcome idea. More women should come into the system so that we can be able to have leverage of power, so that everybody can be carried along, so that everywhere will be involved, so that the women will be speaking for the women community, while the men are also speaking for the male community, so that nobody will be left out. Because if the men are always heading everywhere, sometimes the women might be neglected and they might be left out. So I really, really buy that idea that the women should play actively in politics.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you on that, Christy. Well, I'll also come back to you on
No
this.
problem.
I'd love to get your thoughts on this for first, please.
Well, happy Women's Day.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Congratulations to the women folk.
Yes.
Yesterday, I saw a lot of activities and all of that, even though the male are actually agitated.
But there's Father's Day. We have Father's Day celebration.
The women are getting more days, but it's all good.
I think every day is for everyone. Just a special, recognized, remarkable day for women.
We should equally set aside days for men to be celebrated. But that's on a light hand. IPAC, they've actually they've said what is good. It's a fantastic idea. Making it a little bit easier for the female folks to get into politics. I know there was a time that there was this affirmative action that they said should be given to women, especially at the National Assembly, where women should be treated special, and I don't have a problem with that. We have to be gender sensitive.
Okay.
As much as we are not saying that competence, should be jettisoned. We cannot completely wish away the factor of competence.
Yeah.
Of course, we have women that are doing very, very well in politics, in business, the likes of our own Ngozi Okojo-Iweala.
Okay.
She's one of our biggest international exports. So for me, it's a good thing. And I also want to say that the environment should be more enabling for women. Politically, we have a very hostile political environment. We just talked about how a woman was treated at the National Assembly.
Yes.
some of these things would also want to scare other women from, from speaking their minds. Women, allowing them to talk,
So,
allowing them to speak, giving them that opportunity. And when a woman stand up and speak, and then the woman is treated with disdain and levity, it doesn't really tell well. Yeah, a woman is shamed for dressing the way she dresses, for walking the way she walks. A woman come out to say that she was sexually harassed. You see people coming to say that, are you not a woman? Are you the first? Can't a man look at you? So these are the issues. Society has a role to play. The woman comes out to say, I was raped. And the next thing, why would you dress in such a manner that seduces a man? Why would you put on transparent clothing? I'm not saying that women should dress decently.
Okay.
Even if a woman dresses indecently, it is not an invitation for you to rape her. It's not an invitation for you to sexually harass her. And these are some of the things that women experience in politics. A lot of people believe that a woman in politics is not a responsible woman. Morally, there are people who hold that opinion. That this woman, she's a politician. She cannot be. A moral compass must have been broken one way or the other because she's in politics. That whole style environment. So for me, IPAC, they've actually tried to, simplify the process. The advice is a fantastic one. It's not left for the stakeholders, the political parties and other relevant stakeholders in the political sector to see how they can make the environment less hostile for women to participate fully in politics.
Thank you so much in this, Mufasa. Well, before we actually get into the next one, I actually wanted to, get us back into having a comfortable environment. If we notice in the Senate, there are about 3 of them, not up to 5 senators, female senators that are there. And it still calls for concern why women don't get the opportunity.
And one has been suspended unjustly.
Why, when they're not given the opportunity to the fair hearing into politics, to speak out when need be. Imagine if the reverse was the case and a man stood and there was a defamatory statement that was made, allegedly, because this lady, Natasha, came to say that I have evidence enough to prove my allegations. I have a lot of evidence. I have this, I have that. I know what to say. It is not a false allegation on the Senate president. And because she's a woman and because this is Nigeria, if we may say that, she got suspended for 6 months, in that instance. Do you think the country as it may, with the whole unfavorable atmosphere, unfavorable environment, will still give women to strive in, like IPAC has come to urge, for that increased participation of women in politics? Do you think the atmosphere will be conducive still, since there has not been a full cleanup of the whole toxicity going on in politics, in governance in the country?
A change is the only constant thing in life. I've always said that where there is a will, there is a way.
Oui.
So as a people, we need to streamline what are the do's and the don'ts. Every society has a rule, you understand? And if you want people to follow the rules, there has to be consequences for defaulters. Now, if we are saying that women should be encouraged to come into politics, I will begin to see things like this play out within the corridors of power. That's enough, red flag for a woman to want to vie to go into politics. So it is the system that needs to repair itself. For instance, still citing the Natasha's issue and all that she has alleged against the Senate president. Sexual scandal is one of the biggest that, somebody that is holding the office as high as the Senate president is one of the biggest debasing, allegation that is enough to run down the person. For me, if the matter was not thoroughly investigated, then it sends the wrong signal to the women folks. So for me, if we want a better society that will accommodate both the male and the female into the political scheme of things, we should be able to prepare a more enabling environment that has less of the hostilities, that has less of all of these attacks, so that people will see that we are moving in the right direction. It has to start from a single step.
True.
It has to start from that, that willingness, and people need to see it. If people don't see it, whatever we talk is just mere talk. And like I've said before, we know how to talk. The Nigerian people know how to speak good English. In fact, they speak more than the Englishman. But when it comes to action,
they don't take action. That's the problem.
Let me ask Chimene on this. That slogan of women supporting women, do you think that actually still goes on in politics? Even look at the SC of Itagiwa when she came to make a statement on a particular program over the whole allegations. There was no narration that she was actually supporting Natasha. In as much as, yes, it's an alleged situation. But do you think, like he stated about the system, that women are also affected with the system where we have to side the bigger fish in order to secure the bag in that instance, if I may say that? That slogan, do you think it's still a continuous thing? Do you think it's still functional in Nigeria?
To be very sincere, that slogan to an extent it functions 50-50. Some women prefer their fellow women.
You understand? Like when you listen to Senator Florence Itagiwa's position on the matter, in spite of the fact that it defies anything that that one should hold on to as moral compass, because for a woman to say that a fellow woman should have allowed such a thing because she's old enough to absorb what could amount to sexual harassment, because she's a senator, she's old enough, so she shouldn't have come out to speak. For me, that goes to show how morally bankrupt
Yes,
we've gotten to in this country and this society. So women to women, it doesn't really, for me, that doesn't really count so much. I'm looking at the moral aspect of it, and how society sees it. Most of our young people are drawing inspiration for some of these, actions and inactions of these people we look up to as leaders. And we hear statements like this coming out from them. It sends the wrong signal. It doesn't matter whether you're a woman, you're not a woman. Most women, even I've seen that most women, they really do not fancy when a woman is up there. The envy is
most
right
of them don't.
amongst the women. But let us even look at the moral aspect of it. Are we projecting? Are we sending the right message? That is the $1 billion question that I expect some of these so-called leaders to answer.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here on this episode of Atlantic Sunday. I really appreciate your presence here today. It was an increasingly a good experience for me, if you may ask me. I really enjoyed my stay, and I really enjoyed your analysis. I hope you enjoyed your time here.
Yes.
Thank you for being here. Well, this is where we wrap it up on this episode of Atlantic Sunday. Well, do not forget we're still open for advert placements, bookings, and commercials. You can connect with us on all our Atn socials on Facebook and YouTube, on Atlantic Television Network, on Instagram and TikTok, on Atlantic TV Network, on Twitter, on Atlantic TV Net. You can watch us live on our website www.atlantic.net.work.tv. Do not forget that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Open air comes shortly. Do not go away. I am Chidema Wandike. Have a beautiful day.